Welcome to Discussions with the Writer Fred. Today I have two outstanding members of the African American community with me, and we're going to discuss Black history is ridiculous. And to my far right I have Mr. D.L. Grant, branch manager of our Carver Public Library here in San Antonio, and we have Dr. Dorinda Rowe, who also is an adjunct professor of African American Studies at UTSA. So, folks, Morgan Freeman, in 2005, in an interview with Mike Wallace, made the statement, "Black history is ridiculous." He says, Black history, it's ridiculous because Black history is American history. And I want to discuss that, but before I get started, let me just give our viewers a little background on Black history. The whole idea of Black history was started by Dr. Carter G. Woodson in 1926. Dr. Woodson had attended Harvard University to get his PhD, and he found it rather interesting and depressing that majoring in history for a PhD, there was nothing about African Americans' contributions to this country. And he thought it appropriate that he do something to rectify that. So first he started the Association for the Study, back then they call it Negro Life and History, but today we call it African American Life and History, which still goes on. Yes. And they have their conference every year, I think about October. I had the privilege of going to the one they have in Washington, D.C. a few years ago with my novel, Fires of Greenwood. So since then, it started out only a week, and now they've extended to a month. And even back then, there were detractors that thought it unnecessary. And as I mentioned earlier, we still have those detractors that think it's unnecessary. And this man goes to the point of calling it ridiculous. And so let's start with Mr. Grant. How do you respond to Morgan Freeman's comment?
Very simply, everybody has a different reality. Even within our own race, you can have a different reality. If I agreed with that thought, I wouldn't be on this program. This is our time to assert what we've done in history because nobody else is going to do it. So I would very strongly disagree with what the brother said about Black History Month. We do need it. We do need to assert our history because who else is going to do it if we don't? And we have a right. People talk a lot about public memory and cultural heritage. Well, we have a right to be remembered and have our stories told the way we want them told. We know the accuracy, we know how to be accurate about it, we live the experiences, we have the right to tell it.
Okay, thank you. Dorinda, how do you respond to our good actor's comments?
So the actor Morgan Freeman thinks that African American History Month is ridiculous.
Yes.
So I don't agree with him on that point, but to your point, I do agree that, maybe that's his reality in terms of the way that he lives his life and his experiences. Maybe it does not seem to be something that's relevant or needed. However, I do agree that Black history is American history. Mm-hmm. The part that I think we need to understand is that American history is not full, it does not fully represent us, nor is it accurate when it comes to us. And so I agree with one part of what he says, and then the other part about it being ridiculous, I totally disagree. I think that is a ridiculous statement, if I can say so.
And I think your comments play right into why he did it. He said, look, I've studied, I've got a PhD in history, American history. Mm-hmm. Where are we? Mm-hmm. Where are we? Yeah. And I wondered, is it, when I read the comment, I said, what happens, and I understand your position, everybody has a right to viewpoint. But I wonder what happens to a person. Do they get so famous and do they make so much money that they forget from whence they came?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people in the African American community have been accused of that. It's good that you keep yourself grounded and remember, I hate to say it, but remember where you came from, because We're all the same people, and all black people do not have to think alike. We do have to
No, we
love
don't.
ourselves. We do love ourselves and love our heritage. But I can see how some people could break against some common themes or thoughts that we have in the African American community. Okay, I can see that, but that's just ridiculous.
Well,
Because think about why Dr. Woodson wanted to establish that observance. There was a group of learned people, not African Americans, but it was their whole philosophy or platform that the African American had not contributed anything to American society or history. Well, that's just absurd. Look at the culture that we boast. Look at the history. I mean, there was only one thing to do, and that was to establish Black History Month.
Right. I think too, once we were free people in this country, or on paper we were free, I think that there was this whole thought of let's integrate, because once we did become free, then we were segregated into our own little communities, and we did that. We had to. We didn't have any choice but to be together. But we were able to build something that we could be proud of, where we could survive. But then we saw where, when it came to, let's just say, federal funding and access to various things that all citizens should have had access to, we didn't have that. So we sought to desegregate, which unfortunately it meant integration. And so I think with the thought of wanting to integrate, then it was thinking, well, we're all one people, we don't see color, or you shouldn't see color. And so with that, a lot of our history was erased or swept under the rug, where it seemed that, well, you didn't make any contribution to, as a people, to this country, and we all know that that is not true.
really, I was teaching a civil rights class. I don't think he was joking with me, but I got to the point in the course when I was discussing the Malcolm X and Martin Luther King period. This young boy came up to me and said, Malcolm X, you mean Malcolm X, don't you? Because in the high schools, you don't get Malcolm X.
Right.
You don't get Marcus Garvey. You don't get Nat Turner.
That's true.
You only get what they consider the safe folks.
And if it's American history, that shouldn't even be this part of this dialogue. You shouldn't be having to make that assertion.
Right. But even, when you said that, it made me think about last year I had a young lady in my class, and so I always have my students do presentations for certain sections of the textbook that I use. And at the end of their presentation, they have to provide one PowerPoint slide that's their takeaway. What did they learn? The main thing that she learned was that she didn't know that Booker T. Washington was a real person in history. She knew Booker T. I guess he's a wrestler. Or
Booker T. and MGs?
No.
Group?
There's a wrestler like
Booker T.
but he wrestles. So I just thought, we've got to do a better job, not just with our kids, but I also had in the same class, I had a white student who finished his presentation, and he said, I'm angry. And I like, oh my gosh, I knew this was going to come one day. But he said he was angry because he wanted to know, why am I just learning this stuff? Why did I not learn any of this in high school? And he was serious. He looked at me like he wanted an answer. I didn't respond because what I really wanted to say was, you need to go back to your high school and ask them.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Maybe you need to ask your mom and daddy, but I knew that they probably didn't know either, or maybe didn't care enough. So he had a legitimate question, and he had a right to be angry. Why am I in college, about to be a senior, and I'm just learning about what African Americans have contributed? He said he knew about Martin Luther King. He actually knew about Malcolm X, and these are the names that are put out front. But there were many, many more people involved in the civil rights movement, and you can move beyond the civil rights movement, but get to the inventions and those who contributed to politics and other ways in this country.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, the Mexican Americans right now are in a battle with the Texas Education Association.
Absolutely.
Because they want Mexican-American history to be in the curriculum.
Yes.
And take a
Which
book.
it should be.
Absolutely. But I wonder why, and I guess I'm to blame too, because I could take the lead on this. Why aren't we doing the same thing? Why shouldn't African-American history be a part of the curriculum, a class that kids could take, not only at Sam Houston High School, but at Reagan High School too? They need to know black history.
It should be at all high schools. And, you know, one of the things I tell the students when I do an intro class is, you know, I didn't go to school in Texas. I went to school, elementary school in Washington, D.C.
Oh, okay.
So a lot of what I assume kids learned in elementary school about African Americans, I thought they learned it here, but apparently they don't.
No, and well, we all know D.C. is much more progressive because of the black influence there.
Yeah.
And we just don't have that
We don't,
here
When-
in Texas.
When I was growing up, it was called Chocolate City.
Oh, yeah,
You know,
it still
we
is.
were the majority then. It's a little different now, but yeah.
Right.
And you know, I had teachers who could bring more to the table than what was in the textbook. But you know, at the time, it just seemed normal. I didn't know any better, didn't realize anything until I got away from that to see what a rich education I did receive. However inadequate it was, I mean, I still had to go on and learn more.
What's happening in D.C., and I don't want to deviate too far, is the reason why we're losing it there is gentrification.
Absolutely.
Is taking place. When I was back there for the holidays, I was just shocked to go to some areas that were dominated by us.
Yep.
And now it's all white.
Yeah.
I saw that on a recent visit there myself. But I'm going to say this. Here in South Texas, blacks don't number. We don't make up a huge part of the population. But I thank God for when I was in school in the late 1960s. I remember teachers like Patricia Grafton. She taught art. If I ever told you this story before, I'm sorry, I'm going to repeat it again. In her art class, we was doing our little craft and things. Miss Grafton was very into culture. She was one of those young sisters, and we were just coming out of the civil rights movement, and the Black Power movement was in play. But it was late 60s, early 70s. This was a fiery sister. So she's playing Miriam Makeba. And she makes this kind of a clicking sound, or this kind of a native sound, and we don't understand what that is. And to our young ears, that was funny. Out comes this yardstick from nowhere. Bam! Don't you laugh at your heritage. We jumped, but we never laughed again. They taught us to love ourselves.
Right.
We celebrated Black History Month at Gates Elementary School, big time.
Here in San Antonio.
Here in San Antonio. So it can get away from you. But I always grew up proud to be an African American. We were Black. We didn't nothing about African American, but we associated with that.
Right.
So I learned the pride. We were coming from we were learning from those teachers who were just coming out of the civil rights movement. They had been sorely treated. They were asserting their culture, and they passed that on to us. So that's how I got to be what my cultural awareness, I guess, kind of began. And I thank God for those teachers for giving me that foundation. And that was like the late 60s, early 70s here in San Antonio.
Yeah.
Wow.
Good. Excellent. Well, we're going to take a break here on that note. And when we come back, I want to talk about images, perceptions through history of us coming from the dominant society. Okay? We'll take a couple-minute break here.
Hello, my friends. This is the Reverend Dr. Jerry William Daly, proud pastor of the Macedonia Baptist Church. This year, I invite you to come and join us February 24th for the 2018 Clergy Hall of Fame. It will be held at the Antioch Sports Complex. I'm excited about it being a 2015 inductee. Would you join me as we honor two godly men? Reverend Dr. Randa Drape of Maranatha Christian Church, renowned Reverend Dr. Reuben R. Shield, who pastored Friendship Baptist Church for so many years. On this special day, we will come together, local clergy, we'll fellowship, we're going to break bread and take a few photos. Won't you tell a friend, bring a friend. I can't wait to see you there. Be blessed, Pastor D. Be blessed, Pastor D.
40% of food in America is never eaten.
Marie, you have prediabetes.
Prediabetes? I don't have time to eat right or exercise. I'm a busy mom.
Oh, you're a busy mom.
Yeah.
This is great news. Busy moms never get prediabetes.
Wait, what?
Let me just... Yeah, this is all the people at risk for prediabetes, and way over here, busy moms. No?
Hey, you.
Yeah, you. Getting that college education? What are you gonna do? Graduate and take some office job? Be like everybody else?
Or will you dare do something different?
Like, be a teacher. You could be my teacher. You got the skills. The smarts? Yes, you. You could be the teacher I never forget.
That'd be cool.
Does that corporate job even have recess? What are you gonna make of yourself? What are you gonna make of me?
Nothing to do this week? Don't miss another event. Go to blacksinsanantonio.com for our event calendar. The home of the largest business directory in San Antonio with an African American focus. Sign up today for our weekly e-blast and text message alerts. Help us make this a better community. Connect, empower, grow.
Welcome back to Discussion with the Writer Fred, and my guest here with me, D.L. Grant and Dr. Dorinda Rowe. Let's switch a little and talk about, we know that we've been left out of the history, and that was the reason that we needed Black History Week and then Black History Month. But not only did they leave us out of the history, they projected us in a certain perception that, to me, has been detrimental to us over the years, all the way up to the present time. And I just want to mention a few movies, the way we were perceived. It started with Birth of a Nation. And Woodrow Wilson actually showed that movie in the White House. He said, this is the real picture of what happened in the South. Then we come up to, well, I want to do another one. It's called The Littlest Colonel. It's got Shirley Temple. Oh, Shirley Temple is just beautiful, blonde hair, curl up, white dress, and it's her birthday. And they say to her, okay, Shirley, we're going to go out, take you outside and let the little slave girls wish you a happy birthday. So they go outside. Now, she has got makeup on, her hair is done, white dress. They bring a slave girl up and she's got a dirty dress on, hair not done, no makeup, and she looks at Shirley and it says, happy birthday, Miss Shirley, and then runs off. Now, that's 1939. Think of 10, 12, 13-year-old Black girls seeing that movie, the perception they're given. Then we come up to 1959 with Imitation of Life, where a very light-skinned Black girl rejects her mother because her mother is dark and she didn't want to be identified as being Black. Then one more contemporary, Monster Ball. And they gave Halle Berry Academy Award for playing that role. And we know what the famous scene that's in that role. I haven't seen it, but I've heard enough about it to know that it was not it was a good portrayal of the Black woman. Then the one that was a terrible portrayal of the Black man was Training Day with Denzel Washington. And they give him the Academy Award for that, not for playing Malcolm X or John Q, or even The Great Debater. None of these very positive images of the Black man. So I'd like to get you all to any one of these that you would like to comment on and how that has hurt us, our own perceptions. Perception becomes reality. Let's start with that. Okay? Want to start with you?
Sure. I will start with Birth of a Nation. As you said, when that came out in 1915, it was actually shown in the Woodrow Wilson White House. And you may have said, I think I heard you say, well, they left us out. Well, no, they didn't leave us out. They had white men in blackface portraying the Black man who was after this white woman. And so it followed that whole narrative that the sole purpose in life or desire of Black men is to rape and ravage white women. and you had the scene where a white woman was fleeing from this black man played by a white man in blackface. She preferred to jump off of a cliff and end her life as opposed to being somehow caught by this black man who would do God knows what to her. Which, if you go back to earlier times or during that time, but shortly after slavery, where they were doing studies when they began to lynch black men, and supposedly a large number of those lynchings had to do with allegations that they had raped some white woman or looked at her or somehow. So that movie perpetuated that type of an image of a black man.
Right, absolutely.
And so that, I think, was detrimental for us. And then we'll get down to the other one I would like to comment on is Training Day, but I'll give.
DL, you want to take a crack at this?
I grew up, again, I'm a man of a certain era, and I would see on the late movie Imitation of Life. Let's talk about that.
Okay.
I wound up seeing both of them. The 1934 version was especially degrading because I think it was Louise Beavers playing the mother of the light-skinned girl, and she was so pathetic. She gave her, I think, her pancake recipe to her employer, played by Colbert, I believe it was. Why would you do that? In what reality would you do that during the 1930s, the Depression? Why would you give away your recipe to somebody and be just content to work for them? So it was that movie promoted a slave mentality, and I'm sure it did a whole lot of psychological damage to people, black people who saw that. We didn't do much better. By 1959, here we come doing a remake. And okay, this time we have Lana Turner as the mother and employer, and then Juanita Moore is playing the maid. The maid, not much has changed. We've already talked about what's wrong with the movie, but it really stands out to me how the daughter rejects the mother, and it's so it's such an ugly way it's done. At one point, she breaks, and African Americans have done this. I mean, we got to own that too. But in the film, the light-skinned daughter disowns the mother and even tells her, "If you see me on the street, just act like you don't see me." And that was so hurtful to me to see that. And it's hurtful today to think about that. So, when you know better, do better. I would never support a film with that kind of message again. The narrative would have to be completely different. There would have to be some whole other backstory for me to get down with something like that again. And that movie is a classic. But what did it do for us? It reinforced the stereotype. We are not as good as. If we would tell your own mother, if you just see me, kind of keep on going. Well, she comes to herself at the end of the movie, but all we really remember is she didn't want to be black.
She didn't want to be black. Yeah.
So
that's the perception they're putting out there.
Theo, that is one of my favorite movies, the latter version, and I'll tell you why. Because it demonstrates, but I guess you'd have to be woke to a certain point to understand what's wrong with the movie, what it's conveying, and what I consider to be the important aspects of it. So you have this light-skinned young woman. I assumed that she was of mixed heritage, but her mother was a woman that looked like me, who was a live-in maid. So that little girl grew up alongside the white girl that was about her same age in the household. So somehow she thought that she was the same as the white girl, but she knew who her mama was. And as you said, she told her mother, "If you see me on the street, don't speak to me." And I think that the mother even went to visit her when she had left home.
She did.
And showed up at her apartment where she had other white roommates, and she didn't want her to come in. But the part that really gets me is at the end, when her mother died, and there was this big procession in the street of, I don't know where all these people came from, if they were the mom's friends, what?
She had it's like the daughter didn't recognize that her mother was so popular in the community. And all those folks,
all those people, I mean, her funeral was one fit for a president. A parade through the street. I think her carriage was being pulled by horses. You know how you see those. And she was running through the streets trying to get through, my mama, and the people wouldn't let her through because she looked white. And she portrayed herself as being white, but somehow she woke up when her mother died, and then her mother was no longer in her reach.
Right.
And so that, to me, it said a lot that you cannot dismiss who you are regardless of what you look like. You have to know who you are. I think what would have been good if somebody would do a reboot of that.
And do it a different way?
Yes, and maybe, I don't know, somehow where she does get woke and understands that you cannot dismiss who you are. Now, I mean, it'd be beautiful to do it now. We have DNA. You know, we can tell you exactly what you are.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was another movie. You don't like it, I like it. It makes me cry to see
It would be
that.
interesting to find out what happened the next day.
It would, yeah.
Oh, Dorinda. Oh, how can
To
you
realize that
possibly
you're now an
like-
orphan.
Actually, I can get down with what the sister is saying because
I
if you think
can't
about
get
it,
even
she
near
does.
it.
Because and I hadn't thought about this, but you are right. She does come to herself, and so maybe that marks some growth, and she's able to like herself. But a lot of counseling would have to take.
A lot of therapy.
You know what I'm saying?
You all are much more sophisticated in the way you view movies. You can't think about us. You got to think about just the person who's not sophisticated, what they see. You have to think about the little black girl
Yeah,
who sees that and thinks something is wrong with her.
right.
I can't get beyond that. I don't care how it ends. If the perception throughout the movie is that something is wrong with the mother because she's black and the daughter rejects her. And I'm a strong proponent, and I try to be aware of this in my writing. Perception's reality.
It is. But see, you know, I didn't really think about it as though she thought something was wrong with the mother. The way I viewed it was she somehow thought she was better than her mother.
Oh, that's the same thing, isn't it?
don't see
Okay,
it as the same
you put it in a positive way, which is good.
No, I
Put it
mean,
in a
to me, that's
negative
not
way.
positive. If you think you're better than what you came from,
Right,
to me,
yeah,
that
absolutely.
doesn't jive. I mean, you know,
Absolutely,
no, I
you're
can't
correct.
be better than what I came
Yeah.
from.
So it's all
I'm a
negative.
personification of what I came from.
But the whole perception is negative of
Yes,
us in the
it
movie.
really was,
And
yes.
why,
Yeah.
sometimes, I don't, maybe we can have another session on this. I don't understand the mentality of these blacks who play these roles. I really don't, I can't get to them at
Okay,
all.
so now you're getting to, let me just bring up another point that you from that movie. I'm gonna have to go home and another point that you from that movie. I'm gonna have to go home and find it and watch it again. But you talked about the pancake recipe that was given away to the white woman that she worked for. So, but you have to remember also in our history, you think about your Uncle Ben's, your Aunt Your Mama, and all these products that had black face on it. So do I want to bring this up now?
Oh, let's go for broke. Go ahead.
But I'll just say this. That's been a part of our history, is that you will have black cooks and chefs who cook in these restaurants. Or, well, really, that's what they did. These famous white restaurants, especially in the South, they had black people in the kitchen cooking that food. We would give our recipes away, or either they were just stolen from us and we never got credit for it.
Right.
There is, it had been known that they would say that if you want good food, then you need to get, and this is a part of that whole mammy thing, you need to get a fat black woman to cook your food, and then you know it's going to be good.
And have you ever
That's the way they
seen
believe.
a fat, light-skinned black woman? Never.
They don't show that.
No. Okay, we're running out of time here, so let's talk about a couple more. You wanted to talk about training?
Training Day, starring Denzel Washington. That movie ruined my image of him. I could not watch, I don't think to this day I've ever seen that movie all the way through, because what I saw of him in the character he portrayed in that movie was it was just the complete opposite of how I saw him. I always saw him in roles that I was very proud of, like Glory, like you said, Malcolm X and all these
Right,
other ones.
yeah.
And to see him portraying a cop that just was dirty. He was bad. And the fact that he won, an Academy for that?
Academy Award for it, yes.
Why that one out of all the roles? And to me, it perpetuates the stereotype that black men are bad. And if you give them a little bit of authority, they're going to be even worse.
Throughout the history.
Throughout the history.
And why we need Black History Month, regardless of what Morgan Freeman says.
You're right.
We need it because we have to counter those kinds of perceptions.
Yeah.
Dale, do you want to?
I was thinking about Monsters Ball because we were talking
Yes.
about that during the break, and Monsters Ball was a hard movie to watch too, and it's a whole lot of stuff going on in this movie and the things that happen around it. Okay, first of all, that was not Halle Berry's best. I think everybody agrees she won the Academy Award, but that was not her best work. Dorothy Dandridge was her best work, I guess, up until around that for that time. And I didn't love her in that either.
You didn't?
And I didn't love her in that, but
Okay.
my hat is off to them for trying to do that.
Okay.
But that was a hard movie. A lot of black people had a problem with that because they didn't understand. Okay, we all know the torrid love scene she did with Billy Ray Thornton. Billy Bob Thornton. Thank you. People didn't really love that. It was hard. Okay, and Sean Puffy comes to us as this condemned man. Two people that were very hard to like. The way she treated her son, she came across as this angry mother who didn't have time for her son, who she would ultimately lose. It had a lot of. It should have been. I don't know. I can't say the movie should not have been made, but we didn't come off looking really good in that movie either. And here she is receiving this award for that. And there's an asterisk by it. I'm sorry, but a lot of people think, no, baby, this ain't your best role. Dorothy Dandridge is your best role.
Okay, we're going to close out here. Let each one of you take maybe 30 seconds to wrap up the importance of Black History Month.
Celebrate it. I mean, this is a time. Anything, talk about something positive. Share something positive about what we've done, and try to generate that. Be so powerful that you can generate enough interest throughout the whole year.
Okay.
I believe that as well. I ditto what you say, is that celebrate this month. We need it, but do it throughout the year.
Amen.
Right.
I think it was just last week or a week or so ago, I gave a keynote address to not a largely African American audience, but I said, you know what, I'm gonna go full black. I'm gonna wear out my afro. And so I did. And so I know someone, I don't do this, but I know someone else who through the whole month of February, they wear their African attire. And I think that's great. It gives people an opportunity to talk about their heritage.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Well, regardless of what Morgan Freeman may think about our history is beautiful. We have some very strong, gorgeous, beautiful people that make up our heritage. And I'm just proud of it. I'm really proud of it. And like you say, Dorinda, I do it 365 days a year.
Yeah, you do.
Just put a special emphasis on this month.
You do.
And so I'd like to say this is the writer Fred, and history. We're bringing our history our way to you, and we'll continue to do that on Discussions with the writer Fred.